gonna get started soon, guys. I apologize. I was running a little late on my setup, but I think we have a healthy crew and we will get started shortly. All right. Happy Monday, asset managers. It's been a minute since we've had an asset management Zoom, and it's great to see your faces, old and new. I'm not saying you guys have older looking faces. I'm just saying thanks for coming back. Bob, is this your first time? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, from San Diego. This is my first time. I've talked to BB on some things, but this is the first time I've joined this, presentation. So yeah.
Awesome. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Javi, I see you. Sean, I think I've seen you before, but maybe I'm making that up, but uh welcome everyone.
No, you see me. I've been in a few last few times.
Yeah. Oh, meet that. Okay. Awesome. So let's get this show started. I think BB's in here. Okay, her camera's not yet on. All right, welcome everyone to the Monday Asset Management Zoom of the Multifamily Freedom Chasers. My name is Iffy, and this Zoom is hosted by me as well as BB. Well, as soon as I can find my file to share, I promise I'll do that shortly. For those who are new, or if this is your first time, this is the Multifamily Freedom Chasers. We're an online ecosystem community that is geared towards showing working professionals, that financial freedom is possible through real estate investments. Just trying to let people into the room as well as open up the screen. There we go. All right. And so on Mondays, on alternating Mondays, we either have asset management or a celebrity Zoom, which is what we had the last time. And for today, if I'm able to get this to work, which I should be in, wait for it. Boom, there. So today, we will be talking about the differences between syndication structures. Are you doing a joint venture versus a syndication? I mean, some people argue that a syndication is a joint venture of sorts, but we'll look at the differences. Is my screen sharing working okay? Just checking, doing a temperature check. Awesome. Okay. Because I have been known to have screen issues. Connect with us, Multifamily Freedom Chaser community, as well as leadership. We're available on Facebook. These Zooms are streamed and archived on YouTube, Spotify, and then we do have a WhatsApp group. Feel free to scan that QR code and join the community. Ask a question, share something you've learned, whether it's within or during your real estate journey, whether you've learned it from within this community or from outside the community as well. We'd love to hear from you. Like I said, this is a Zoom put together by BB, who's based in Dallas. She's been in the real estate space for over a decade. She's a mom. I'm much newer to this space. I am up in Massachusetts. She's down in Dallas. And I'm also a mom as well. So we're all working. Connect with us through WhatsApp. We also have our links over there, our social media handles. I'm actually a little bit more active on LinkedIn, so I probably should change that. But they're not too many iffies and they're not too many BBs, so you can find us if you search any social media handle. All right, platform rather. All right. Let me go back and find BB. Found, oh, there you are. There we go. All right, I think that was the last thing I had on my end, and I will hand it over to you. But you're mute.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good to have us here. Let's just quickly dive into what we have for today. Some of us have been wondering how we can get into multifamily or how multifamily can be structured. There are many ways multifamily deal can be structured, but I'm going to limit it to just two, and that is joint venture and syndication. We also have others, proprietorship, and we also have through a fund. But like I said, I'm going to limit it just to joint venture and sorry, I'm just going to limit it to just joint venture and syndication. Both of them are actually, before I even go into this, I would like to tell you how I started. I started my multifamily as a joint venture. So this was how it was structured. I didn't have money coming into multifamily. I know this is similar to some of us. Not every one of us have that big money to put down a 25% down, 30% or 40% down. So the ideal way for me was to do joint venture. And the reason why I decided to do joint venture was because I didn't have the skills to bring in to raise capital. So I couldn't raise capital. So there was no way for me to do that. So what I could do was I could use my knowledge, my ability, and my skills in exchange for equity on a deal. So what did I do? I looked for someone with the money and I offered the equity, the sweat equity. So that was how we structured our joint venture. So the joint venture was structured as 80-20 split. That was at the beginning. And that was because I was not bringing in the money. Most times, people that bring in the money take bulk of the equity. It just depends on the agreement you have with each other. So that was how it was structured at the beginning, 80-20 split. But as time started going on, I started bringing in money. My deals I started making money from my deals. I started reinvesting the deals. So at that point, I had to call back for a renegotiation. So now that is not the level where it is anymore. But that was a very good way for me to come into multifamily because I didn't have the money. So for some of you that are here and you feel that you can't raise the money or something, that might be an avenue for you too. So that's why I decided that I was going to discuss about JV. Sorry, I still have code. I'm going to discuss today about JV and syndication. So both of them are similar in terms of capital raising because regardless, you have to still raise money for both. But the only difference is the way they are structured in their roles, the responsibility, compensation, and the way investors are involved. So those are some of the differences that we have. So I'm going to break them down. What are the major today? This what I'm talking about today is actually very, very complex. In our next meeting, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you a practical example of how sorry, how I structure my syndication deals and how I structure my JV deals. So it's just up to you. The bottom line is there's some fundamental rules that you cannot take off, and you need to structure it in that way. You can add or remove, but those things are those rules, some of the rules are very important. Like for syndication, you can't take out the KP, the person that's going to guarantee the loan. You can't take out the person that's going to manage the loan. You cannot take out the person that will provide the capital. So those things are very important. So the next meeting we're going to have, the next webinar we're going to have, I'm going to do a practical example, and we're just going to form a case study of a deal and how you should structure it. It's not all size fit all. It depends on the case. So it's just going to be a template, then you modify it to whatever way you want it to be. But just on this, it's going to be on the surface level. We're just going to see the difference between the two. So I've done a video about what a multifamily syndication is and who the two parties are. In a multifamily syndication, we have two parties, which are the GP and LP. So for parties involved, you have two parties involved in a syndication. A part is called the general partners, and the other part is the limited partners. But for a joint venture, the parties involved, they are all active partners. There's no general partner, there's no limited partner. Everybody is an equal. I mean, in terms of involvement, they're all active. There's no passive investor. LPs are regarded as passive investors. So that is not the case with joint venture. So in aspect of involvement, LPs are passive, while the GPs manage the project. Indirectly, they are very active. But for a joint venture, everybody shares responsibility and they're all active. So if you are a busy professional, JV might not be for you, just depending on what you are bringing on the table. So I'm going to go into that shortly. Then control. GP members, the general partners, have full control over decision making, whereas the limited partners don't have any control. But for the JV, control is shared among all partners. So all of them must have a say on any major decision that they are going to take. Then we also have, in terms of capital contribution, the LPs. So for a GP might before now, when the economy was a little bit stable, GPs were coming in with zero equity. That means they were not even putting in any money. But now lenders are mandating that the GP or the guarantor should bring in about 5 to 10% of the loan amount. So GP contributes a very small portion, which is about 5 to 10% of the loan amount, of the down payment. Whereas the LPs are the ones that bring in bulk of the funds. So, but for JV, all partners contribute capital and skills. So everybody's bringing in money, everybody's bringing in skills as well. That's for JV. So for compensation, GPs are actually rewarded with asset fee, acquisition fee, disposition fee. So if they buy a property, there's something called an acquisition fee for putting in the deal together and all that. There's a money that is paid to them for doing that. It's called an acquisition fee. Then you have the asset management fee. It's for them managing the asset throughout the period of the hold of the deal. You also have the disposition fee. When they're selling it off, they also compensate themselves for selling off the property. So there's a fee for that, and it varies depending on your group. Some people take from 2% to 5%. Depends on your team, depends on what you want or what you're doing. 2 to 5% is the standard, but most likely it's 2%. Most people do 2%, but there's nothing wrong with doing 5% if you can justify it. Therefore, the joint venture, there is no there's no fee, nothing of this such. There's no acquisition, no management, no nothing. It's just your share profit. Whatever profits shares you guys have, that is what you go home with and all that. So, and for the liability, the GPs bear management risk. They have a large portion of the liability, whereas the LPs have limited liability. That's why they call them limited partners. That means their liability is only limited to the amount that they've invested. Unlike the GP, it's not limited to the amount they've invested, it's limited to the deal. So the LPs have limited liability. That means only if they've invested 50,000, their risk is just 50,000 is their risk exposure. Then whereas for the JV, the liability is shared among the partners. So the risk, everything is shared among the partners. When do you decide to do a syndication deal or a JV deal? If the deal is very big, that is, your raise is a lot, you are raising a lot of equity down payment, you might need to consider doing a syndication. But when the deal is small, it's very small, maybe you guys are raising 600, 800, 800,000, you might consider doing a JV deal because of the size. Because when a syndication deal, there are some fees you pay, some legal fees that you pay that if you have done a JV deal, you might not need to incur those kind of expenses. Typically, the standard for getting an SEC, because for a syndication, you use an SEC attorney to do that, and you pay between between $15,000 to about $25,000. So you might need to reconsider that if your deal is small and decide to go the JV route. The regulations, syndication is highly regulated by the SEC. It's subject to security laws, whereas for the joint venture, is not subject to any security law, because partners are active. So once you're active, you don't have any passive investor that needs to be protected, and that does not apply to them. So the next thing we're talking about is the pros and cons. Both of them are ideal, are good, but you need to identify at what part, when do you need to use syndication and when do you need to use joint venture. I use both on my multifamily deals. I have both currently, and they both operate at different levels, and I manage them at different levels. So for syndication, what are the pros for syndication? We have passive investment for LPs. So you are not, the burden is not on a general partner to raise the money. The pool of money comes from the limited partner. So that is a pro to it, because the money is not coming from your pocket. That means you can actually do a multifamily deal and not have a lot of your money invested in it, because the limited partners are bringing in the money. Then the GP controls the operations. Imagine you're not bringing in the money, but at the same time you own full control. Is that not fantastic? So that is the beautiful thing about it. You have a say, you control the deal, you operate it, but it's not your money, it's people's money, other people's money. And it's good, and it's a good way for you to start bigger deals. Syndication is an ideal way for you to go into bigger deals, and it has limited partners as LPs. Then the cons, what are the cons to it? You bear all the management risk. So if there's something happen, like what we are seeing happening in the economy, the GP members are, most of them are they are being exposed to litigations, exposed to so many things at this point. So they're bearing a lot of risk based on that. The cons to it is that fees are charged by GPs. So they are still paid. You still have to pay the GPs for carrying out, for organizing the deal. So they take some fees. It's not free. They are managing it and they're still being paid for it. So that might be a con if you're looking at it from a perspective of, let me say, a limited partner. LPs don't have any decision-making power. Regardless, they're bringing in 90% of the money or more, and they don't have a say on the deal. It just that's the way it is being structured and all that. So, and it's subject to security laws. That is why we have the 506B and the 506C. So there's some investment because of the security laws. There are some things that you cannot expose to everyone. There are conditions or legalities. There are legal things you need to follow. If not, you'll be in trouble. So it's really governed by the SEC laws. It's very important. So that's one disadvantage about it. Then for the joint ventures, what are the pros for joint ventures? The pro is that all partners are jointly involved. That is, everyone has a say. And the structure is flexible, depending on the agreement you guys have. You know, most times joint ventures are people that maybe have known themselves before now. They just decide to do a deal together. You guys can say, based on what I'm bringing on the table, I'm taking this. And you guys will come to a common concession and divide the deal based on that and all that. It's not subject to SEC regulation. It requires complementary expertise. That is, the skills you don't have, maybe your partner has it. The skill the other partner does not have, the other one might have it and all that. And you guys are pulling your expertise together and forming a team. But the disadvantage about it is that all partners must be active. That is, there's no room for dormancy. There's no room for being passive. So if you are a sojourn that does not have time for anything, you might need to reconsider if that is a good play for you. Then you share control. This might bring about conflicts because member A might not be in agreement with member B. And before you guys know it, you guys are coming to a roadblock because you guys cannot just come to a conclusion. And because of that, you might directly affect the deal because you guys are not in a common, you're not in a common page and all that. And it's ideal for, it's only good for smaller deals because imagine you having a $50 million deal and the raise is about 30 million. Doing a joint venture on that might be very difficult. It's not even advisable because you're putting a lot of your money down. So joint venture is typically for smaller deals, you know, and the liability are shared among the partners and all that. So that is the pros and cons for it. Then I'm going to give you, I don't know if are you here?
Yep. Are you ready for me to?
Yes. So I want to give you a sample. This is just a template. In our next meeting, I'm going to break it further down, especially for the GP. I'm going to break it down and tell you how a GP can be structured. So this is for a GP. In a GP, like I said earlier on, we have two roles, which are the GP and the LP. So for the GP is going to handle the acquisition, the assets management, investors relations, the dispositions, and they will manage the day-to-day operations. It's not as if they are the ones doing the day-to-day operations. They have the property manager to manage it, but they will be supervising or they will be monitoring what the property manager is doing. So these are details of what a GP role entails in just a summary. For an LP, your duty is just to provide the capital and you receive preferred equity and also profit split. So for the GP role, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to break it down in our next meeting and divide this into percentage, and it's not a standard. You can fine tune it to how you like. It's just up to you. So for the GP compensation, we have the acquisition fee. The standard is 2%, but I've seen people doing as high as 5%. So acquisition fee, 2%. This is how it's structured. All these things go into the document. Asset management fees between 1 to 2%. Promote or carried interest, that is the GP split. Most times is between 20 to 30% of the deal. Then for the LP compensation, we have the preferred. I can see somebody saying 4 members. I'll come to that. Preferred, for the preferred returns, we have 7 to 8 percent, depending. It's not, that is an average standard. It's not as if I've seen people doing 18%, 12%. Then profit split 70 to I've seen 70 to 90 splits. I've seen 50 to 90 splits, depending on that. So this is a standard way of structuring a GP deal. But then for a JV deal, if you can move to the next slide. Okay, we don't have the JV deal. Okay, for a JV deal, assuming you are, let's say, 3 partners on a JV deal. Let's say one of them brings the deal and the other person brings the equity and another person has the skill to manage. The 3 of you can partner up. I know how to find deals. Another person can come up, I can raise the entire equity. Another person will come up and say, I can manage the deal. Or somebody can come up and say, I can, okay, this is it, yeah. So partner A is finding the deal and securing the deal and overseeing the entire acquisition process. His capital contribution is 500, small contribution. Then we have the partner B, asset manager. His duty is to manage operations and leasing. His own capital contribution is 500. Then we have partner C that is carrying bulk of the capital raise. His own capital contribution is 2 million. So based on this, you see, because he is bringing a lot of equity on the table, he can decide that 60% will be my share, you guys will share 20%. Just like mine, I was bringing $0, and he was bringing the entire 100% down payment for the entire deal. So mine was 20% and he was taking 80%. Depending, it just depends on what you guys feel like doing. If it's a very heavy lifting deal, you might decide to structure it because I'm going to manage this property. It's a lot of work, a lot of this. I might decide to take 30 to 40% and you're bringing in the equity at 60 to 70%. It just depends on both parties and all that. So in other words, joint venture is really very easy to structure than a syndication, and it's based on what you are bringing on the table. That would be what that will be equated to your equity share. If you look at it, everybody's bringing in money, but at different levels. So regardless, you're bringing in money and you're still putting down some skills. Like this capital guy is still going to be coming because it's possible that this money is for maybe him and his wife and all that. So he's still going to be reporting to his wife how the money, how the money deal is going and all that. So he's still doing some form of investors relations between him and his wife or him and his brother, whoever owns that money with him and all that. So this is just the summary of a joint venture deal. If you did the last slide. So in conclusion, you can see that both of them are best suited. One of them is best suited for syndication, and the other one, I mean, for bigger deals, and the other one is best suited for smaller deals. So if you have a deal that's about $1 million, it might be best for you to get a JV partner to pull it down, or even 2 million, depending on the type of friends you have. If you have friends that can bring in 300,000 without sweat, you can decide to do a $2 million deal as a JV. So it just depends on that. But when it starts getting to maybe 5 million, 10 million, you might need to consider a syndication. Both of them offer flexibility for multifamily real estate. And it just depends on the deal size, your investors' involvement, and your partnership goals. So for me, my partnership goal is both, so I do both. So as a deal, as I have a deal, the first thing I look at is what is the raise. If the raise is about $1 million, it's not good for us to do that as a syndication, because I'm looking at the other expenses that will be involved in it and the stress, the ability for me to advertise. I cannot advertise the deal. I can't do so many things, maybe because it's a 506B. not a 506c. I'm kind of restricted if it comes to that, but I might just need to consider just doing a JV deal. So that is all I have for JV and syndication. So next week, we're going to go into a JV, how you can structure a GP, sorry, not JV, a syndication deal in terms of a GP splits. Some of us, I've seen some people asking questions, how do you structure a GP split and all that? So it depends on so many things, but you must follow the fundamentals. Somebody said, I'm looking at the box, which is how many JV partners do you have? Okay, so we had this argument previously, and I went ahead to ask a lawyer that's specialized in this, that's typically what is the average number of JV members we should have? And he said, truth be told, there's no actual number, as long as you can prove that everyone has a significant role to play. So for example, if you are 7 and only 3 people are performing or have a role, then you know that you are not following the rules. But if you are, let's say, 7 and 3 of you are, 1 of you is on the right team, 1 of you is got the deal from the broker, 1 of you is the one, you are the middle person between you and the lender, you're following up with the lender, the 3 of you are very active on the acquisition part, and you all maybe have 2 other people, 1 person is the boots on ground, the other person is the one managing the property management. Those are roles that are very active. And maybe you have 2 other people that said, okay, I want to raise the money. I know, not I want to raise, I want to bring in my money. We need to raise 2 million. I want to bring in 800. The other person says, I want to bring in 800 and all that. So those are the rules. So there's no particular amount or number, but you must ensure that everybody has a significant role. But when the group now starts becoming very big, then it's very difficult for you to have a significant role. The more the people you have, the lesser the role becomes. So it's just in between. So it's just based on what you can define as a significant role. And it must really, really, really be significant. So the lesser you have, the more you can actually define what that role is. But when you are not 12 on it, that might be an issue. You might not be able to give everybody a tangible role to work on. So I hope that clarifies that. Yeah. Does anybody, if you're hand over to you for Q&A.
I was sneezing. I think I got your cold.
I still have it for 1 month now. I've been
Oh,
dealing.
dear Lord. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let me see. Bob, you seem to have a question.
I do. In the JV arrangement, at one point, I don't know if things have changed because of the way the environment is now, but at one point, Bibi, did you mention that you were able to get into a JV without any money and then work with partners that did have money? Because on that outline that you had, everybody was putting money in, you know, no matter what. Because I'm in that category, the no money yet, so.
My first day was a sweat equity. Should be told, if I had the money, I'd have put it down, but I didn't have it at all.
Right.
So I put in sweat equity, but the second one, I put in a small amount of money, because what I did was to transfer my profits, because I was making money every month from the rent. We're sharing distributions every month. So instead of taking it, so like for 1 year, I didn't take any distribution. That was like my sacrifice for it. So I left it in the deal. I wasn't profiting from it. So I converted it to my contribution in terms of money, sweat, and also my money contribution. So coming in, I didn't come in with money, but I worked the money. So my profit, I converted it to my contribution afterwards. So that was how I did mine. You don't have to do yours that way. You can, maybe you have the money, maybe you have 50,000 and the person is bringing in 100,000, and the person is bringing in 200,000. That is your own contribution towards it, but you must also add something else on the table. But the thing about it is that typically who brings the money, the biggest amount, if you don't know how to negotiate, can decide to take a large chunk of it. So, but over time, I was able to negotiate my what, because one, my time is money, my experience is money. So regardless, even if I'm bringing a small amount of money, if I equate those things, you might not be able to pay me. So it just depends on what you're bringing on the table. You know, so but right now, from that 20%, it was nice 50-50. You understand? So I've been able to review the deal as years they're going by, reviewing it based on what I was bringing on the table as times they're going on. So you might need to just start up with a small pie. I learned this thing from Ify. She said, you don't want to make, I forgot how you made it, if you can remind me, you said something about the first and second deal is not where you want to make all your money or everything. It's like a sacrifice, but
Correct.
from that you move on. In other words, what she was trying to say is my first and second deal is a sacrifice. I'm going to do a lot of compromising and find myself and know my worth and know the skills I can get. Then afterwards, I can now start putting some value on myself. This is my worth. This is what I think I deserve.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And to me, that sounds easier than syndicating, because syndication is such a long process and trying to find people and getting the commitments and everything. But if I could go in as a JV with my skills and then do exactly what you did, it seems to happen quicker. Sounds like to me.
It depends. Sometimes syndication, if you have the right partners with you, let's say everybody is your GP members are very experienced and they're all hands-on, you might not be doing a lot of work because the duty is shared among so many people, or let's say 7 of you. But for that JV deal, you might just be, the body might just be on you because you are the only one that has the asset management skill. That means you must always be on it. And truth be told, there's a lot of work. I spend more time on my JV deals than my multifamily deals. Serious. Because on my JV deal, I'm the only asset manager on it to date. So I'm spending more time because I don't have any support. Because that's my skill, that's what I'm bringing on the table, you know. So it just depends. Like I said, it just depends on one, the time. A JV might become a full-time job if care is not taken. But a syndication, you can still do a W-2, and if you have the right partners, work alongside with your W-2 with it. But JV, it just depends. It might become a full-time job if care is not taken.
Great.
That's my own experience. It doesn't mean it's like that for everyone.
Yeah, understood. Thanks. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All righty. Does anyone else have any question? Questions about syndicating? I have to say that there's something similar, Bob, that can be done in the syndication space, which is the acquisition fee that Bibi talked about. That can also be rolled in to the deal as part of your contribution. So
yeah, okay. Yeah.
the fact that you went in with nothing initially doesn't mean that you can't contribute anything at all. And then 2 is with JVs, she happened to find someone that was fine with her just bringing in sweat equity. I don't want you to think that everyone out there is fine with you bringing in just sweat equity.
Yeah.
Why do I bring this up? Because raising capital is one of the most important skills in this business. Finding the deal is important and it can be challenging, but so can raising capital. So I don't want you to just hang your hat on, well, I'm just going to find JV partners that are going to accept my, $0 and 100% sweat equity. You might, but
you ruined my whole plan.
No, Bob, I paid the price, really. It was not free. 1 year, I didn't take a dime. So that might not be a good strategy if that's what you're depending on. So you just busted his bubble.
I can see the look on his face.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks a lot.
On that note, guys, this is where we're wrapping up. I'm just kidding. No, it's just something for you to think about, Bob. But you know, you're out there, keep putting it out there, you know, the kind of deals you're looking for, the kind of skill set that you bring, and through networking, who knows, you can find your own capital partner that's willing to just accept sweat equity. Yeah. Questions, comments. Daryl, was your question satisfactorily answered?
Absolutely. Above
Awesome.
above and beyond. So I always appreciate you both for doing this.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you.
All right.
So,
Yeah, I don't see any other questions. I don't see a hand up, so I think we might be all set for today.
yeah, so in conclusion, there are many ways to get into a multifamily space. So don't say I don't have money. If you don't have money, go look for that person that doesn't have the time, but they have the money. And start up with maybe a 10 unit. 10 units, and maybe you bring in 10,000 and it's bringing in the 100,000. I mean, 90,000. You might not make a lot, but as time goes on, you start making money. So consider that there's no room for, I don't have money, so I can't start my journey. You can actually start. Because we all started that way. We didn't have that money, but we are doing it now. Yeah.
Exactly. Amazing. All right. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks for another asset management Zoom, and then we'll be diving more into the topic that, you know, BB talked about.
Yes.
Thank you guys for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
GP split structure. It's just a template, you modify it as you want, but for you to have the understanding for that, and maybe distributions, maybe we'll discuss that, but around GP structure, yes. And how a capital stack, I might go into capital stack as well, how you can structure a deal in terms of capital and all that. So let's see.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, if there are no more questions, I am going to bid you all good night. Thank you for coming.
Right.
Thank you,
Thank you
BB.
so
Thank
much.
you.